To niche or not to niche? That, my friend, is the question. If you're a conscious leader who wants to start, grow, and monetize your podcast and YouTube channel, and you're hesitating if you should niche, how much, by the end of this video, you should have a good idea. Because the answer is it depends. And it depends on two things mainly: your interests and your goals. And let's get into it. But before that, I want to share that I'm very passionate about it, because a lot of people on the internet, they just say the riches are in the niches, like parrots, and you should niche. But for a podcast, I believe that authenticity, following your passion, your energy when you record is much more important than artificially forcing yourself into a niche. So while there are some benefits to having a niche, and we'll talk about it, you don't have to force yourself if that doesn't fit your interests and your goals. And it's actually been something a lot of people come to me about. So that's why I'm doing a video on that. And that's been part of my journey too. With the Light Leaders podcast, my other YouTube channel, I've had that podcast for 6.5 years now, and it's relatively unniched. But this new YouTube channel that I started like a month ago now is pretty niched. And they serve different purposes because I answer differently the questions of interest and goals. And I'll give you a few examples as we go. Let's get into it. Interest first is, are you more of a generalist or are you more of a specialist? And obviously, the more you're a generalist, the more you're going towards not to niche. And the more you're a specialist, the more you should go towards to niche. And a lot of generalists, they try to force themselves into a niche. I don't recommend that. Then what are your goals with the podcast? Some people start a podcast because they want to go on an adventure. They want to learn, they want to from amazing people, they want to get better at public speaking, they want to have a platform for self-expression, they want to connect with other conscious leaders, they want to start a personal brand. All these benefits you can have from having a podcast as a passion project. And some people, they start a podcast very intentionally to grow their business. They want leads or clients or to make money with somewhere or another, and they need to be more highly strategic. In general, people who do the podcast as a passion project will gravitate more towards not to niche. People who do a podcast with a clear goal of supporting a business will generally go more towards niching. So that's why a lot of the business advice often goes towards niching, but it's not always true. And we'll dive a little bit through a few examples. Let's start even with my own example. With the Light Leaders podcast, I put TLL here, my interests are pretty broad. We talk about health, we talk about business, we talk about relationships, consciousness, many different interests. However, it's still always for an audience that is interested in the rise in consciousness of our planet. So there's still a filter here where I'm not going to talk about anything. So relatively broad, but not too much. And just to precise, when I talk about having a niche, I mean having content that's exclusively for a specific audience and to solve a specific problem. So the more you do that, the more you're niched. So with the Light Leaders podcast, I'm not that niche in that way. I don't solve like one problem for one type of people, but still conscious leaders. And then my goals with it, it's mainly been a passion. I've had it for 6.5 years. I've actually poured money into it more than the other way around. And now I'm shifting it because I'm so passionate about it. What you do as a passion, you can turn into a business later, totally. But this is more like an adventure, let's see. And so the Light Leaders podcast is there. But since I've started coaching people on starting their podcast and YouTube channel and become a podcast coach, then I thought, okay, I really like YouTube and long form content to educate people like this. So I need a different channel because many of the people who listen to my podcast, they don't want to start a podcast. And so it's a very different audience. So now so it's called the Conscious Podcast Lab. It's very specialized and it's for more business purpose. It's like I'm also using this to get leads and clients for my coaching business. And so that's why the Conscious Podcast Lab would be more here on the scale. Now it could be even more niche. So let's take another example. Let's say you're a mom and you're a coach, you have a business, and you help, I put the M here, you help moms in their 40s lose 10 kilo of body fat. Well, that's pretty niche. That's pretty niche. And that's your business. And not only that's your business, that's your life's purpose. So you're super passionate about it. Like that's all you talk about to your friends. And so you're super specialized in that. You read 100 books on that topic, and that's your business. And your life's purpose is to do that, impact like a million women with your business. I want a podcast that supports that. I want to become the authority on this. Super niche. So then, of course, super specialist, super business driven. You're not going to do just a podcast. Your podcast is going to be the like super targeting that specific audience. You're not just going to have a meditation teacher about meditation. If you have him, it's going to be about how meditation can help women in their 40s lose weight, belly fat. Yeah. So that's an example. Now, someone else I was talking to earlier in the week, he is more looking for his purpose and he wants to have a podcast, but he doesn't have a business yet. He has more like a 9 to 5 job. That's how he earns money. And he wants to go on a little adventure in life. So for this profile, he's interested in many things, in personal development, in general, health, relationships. And he wants to do it first as a passion project. So that person, obviously, you start a niche. And that can be just your name and show. Like some people do really well with that. Hello, Joe Rogan, right? The Joe Rogan show, a niche. Sometimes we say you are the niche. Your specific frequency is also a niche. So in that case, very obvious. Don't try to force a niche because a YouTube video told you that you should niche. It's not. You're not ready for that. Have fun. Explore. Now, if you are, let's say, a beginner life coach and you're interested in many topics, a bit similarly to that person that goes on an adventure, I put an A with here, but life coach, LC here. If you're a generalist, but you want to start a business, you're like, okay, I want to become a life coach as a job. I want to make money with my life coaching. Then I would still go not too niche. I wouldn't think, okay, I pick a niche. I'm going to go for health, relationships, because you're not niched yet, and you need to stay passionate about it. So stay relatively on niche, but maybe a little bit niched in the intentionality of the content. Like for example, you could go on different themes, but you talk about like the way you conduct the interview, for example, is specifically how people turn their life around. Could be in health, in relationships, in business, but we'll have a bit more intentionality there. Another example, let's look at a more established health coach. Imagine you're a health coach, you've been a personal trainer, you go online, you help people lose weight or get a six-pack or eat more healthy, like a bunch of build muscle, a bunch of different things in the health area. Well, some people will tell you pick a super specific niche, but your interests are still pretty broad. You're not here. That's the H. You're here. You're still a little bit too generalist, more generalist. So then, I mean, you could go more towards the niche and think, okay, I'm going to try a business which is more, I just pick building muscle, and then you go more niche with your podcast. Or you could if you prioritize passion more, if you're thinking, you know what, I want to go more on the discovery, then you could niche a little bit less, and then you're the like more health podcast, and trust that some people will find that your specific angle around health is unique and different than the other thousands of podcasts, probably more, on health, right? So that's a little bit of a map of how you choose. So basically, it always starts with why. It starts with what are your interests, what are your goals, what are you going to build, and keep in mind that a podcast and a YouTube channel, you want to get it as right as possible from the beginning, but it's also very evolving ecosystem. So all of this can shift. You can niche down as you go, because the podcast is going to be also a discovery process. When you talk about the topics, you will learn what's more a passion of yours, what you want to talk about more. And so you can keep refining as you go. It's not like you chose your podcast and now you have to do that for life. Try to pick it as well as possible, but you can keep some flexibility there. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments. I like to keep it interactive. I read them all, I answer all of them. Where are you at with your process of starting a podcast or a YouTube channel? Is it something you're pondering on? Should I niche more? Should I niche less? And yeah, let me know if you have a question there. You can ask there. And if you want to go even deeper, I'm doing free strategy sessions, 1 hour, totally for free. If you go in the link in the description, you can book a call there. There's a little bit of an explainer video too. And my intention with these videos is to give you as much value as possible, but at the same time, sometimes having that conversation is going to be the next level. Like, it's hard to replicate that with just those videos. Of course, subscribe if you want more content for conscious leaders who want to start, grow, and monetize a podcast and YouTube channel. Much love.